Great sim racing comes to life, and it comes to life today in the form of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. And what a circuit to come to today for iRacing Happy Hour, ladies and gentlemen. It is Long Beach, California. It's arguably the most difficult street course in the United States of America. This is where great sim racing comes to life, and we're seeing it here today. I'm Jake Sperry. I've got Taylor Burris along with me for the ride. And Taylor, when you say street circuit, it's always difficult. You add multi-class racing on top of that, we're in for a treat.
We certainly are, and good afternoon, everyone. This track here at the Long Beach Street Circuit is by far one of the most famous, but yet also one of the most technical and difficult. And like you said, when it comes to multi-class racing, let alone in a GT or Grand Sport and TCR category, it's a lot more difficult racing, but it just means so much more fun and action for all of us here watching the action here today.
Absolutely, and we talk about this being really fun. We weren't going to do this all alone today. This is iRacing Happy Hour, ladies and gentlemen, which means we have a very, very special guest with us. He drives for Brian Herter Autosport. He has himself that opportunity as a Hyundai factory driver. He has been, in the past, a very, very successful driver in terms of the TT America series, and he also has a very good ability to wear a hat nicely. He is Tyler Maxson, and he is joining us over the course of racing action today. Tyler, you know, we talk about this style of racing. It is always something that is fantastic to see. It's always something amazing to do. But when you put it to a track where, I know you've had a chance to drive it on the sim, of course, earlier on today, but a track that you'd absolutely love to take your Hyundai over to, is this the sort of place where you look at it and go, this is a tricky challenge and this is what drivers will revel in?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these cars are so much fun to drive in a normal circuit, but then you put them on a super tight track like a street course, they're just so much fun. Like you said, I did some laps earlier on today. It was a blast. I mean, what's some of the most fun driving I've done on the service, and I've done a lot of it prepping for the real world events.
Absolutely. And just to touch on that a little bit further, how important has that preparation been, using the iRacing service, getting yourself immersed in what is effectively probably the most accurate representation of tracks around the world?
Yeah, absolutely. It is my sole training tool when coming to these racetracks, especially to tracks that I've never been at before. So being able to go and kind of learn braking points, and now having the Elantra and the Veloster TCRs to come in and be able to use, I can really do a lot of testing and get a very good idea of how the car is going to handle and how the track's going to be before I ever even get to the real thing. And it definitely gives me a leg up coming into all the weekends.
And what a leg up it is going to be. This is where competition is at its most fiercest here in Long Beach, California. Taylor, this is a track that's had many iterations, but this one probably the most iconic.
It certainly is. This beautiful 1 meter elevation change, of course, 3.1 kilometers or 1.9 miles, 11 turns here of just treachery and chaos. Opened, of course, back in 1975 for the first ever race. Of course, home to all different forms of motor racing. Of course, Formula One, IndyCar, and sports car racing have all called this track home over many years. As we take a look at the format here, Jake.
Absolutely. So, two categories of class, your GT4 or Grand Sport class, and then your Touring Car TCR class. This is a 30-minute race. Fuel and tires can complete the race. What does that mean? It means you don't need to make a stop. Your license requirements jump in. If this is your first time seeing this series with iRacing, you need a D-Class license 4.0 or above, and that basically means pretty simple. Get yourself jumping in if you've got the chance already. A session launches every 2 hours with this series, so there are many chances and many times you can go and race at any time of the day, any day of the week. It is absolutely fantastic to jump in and get amazing action done. And Long Beach, it is a difficult first place to go, but a lot of drivers here today that we'll be looking at will be up at the very top and looking to push through. This is an iRacing official series race. And Tyler, in terms of the driver's eyes perspective, sometimes when you're put in this situation, as we're seeing the first cars out here in qualifying here today, how difficult is the competition, knowing you could be racing from anybody around the world, jumping in, and the field can be as strong as anywhere around 3,000, 4,000 iRating sometimes at the best of times?
Yeah, and you know, that's the best part about the iRacing service. You never know who you're going to be matched up with, and that's why I love to use the official racing as kind of a training ground and to keep what I like to call race ready, just always having to race different people and racing different kinds of cars just to keep myself as sharp as I possibly can be, because in the IMSA TCR field, everything is so close. You have to be so much on your game. And with these longer breaks like we're in right now between Sebring and Laguna Seca, this is what really keeps me race ready and keeps me on top of things.
Absolutely, and being on top, getting everything you possibly can out of this track. This is the all-important place to go. Making the run then as we charge over towards what is the very difficult final sector of this circuit. And here you can see the car that our good friend Tyler Maxson definitely drives around here and gives himself that opportunity to go through. And Taylor, you know, you look at what you need to do around this track, how you need to be aggressive. This is the sort of car that you're trying to just get as much as you can out of it. You can see really attacking the curbs, trying to get as much turn as you can for that very difficult final hairpin.
Yeah, the hairpin as you come out of there and work your way up Shoreline Drive, that's going to be one of the key areas of passing and making sure you set up a great run to start a lap in qualifying to build that momentum as you see them working through Bridgestone before they head over toward Toyota, which is turn number 1. This is a critical point to make sure you break, and with these touring cars, you can really send it in there compared to the more heavier GT4 cars or GT Grand Sports cars that we have in this race. They're very important to keep an eye and seeing how these cars are a little bit more nimbler, working through these corners, and carries a lot more momentum compared to the Grand Sport class.
Absolutely, and look how aggressive going up there through turn number 6 and trying to make that charge in towards the middle of the lap. These two transferring lefts and rights. The TK turn here, this left seems to go on for forever and a day, moving forward towards the right. But especially with a street course, Tyler, how would you challenge a street course compared to what is the more conventional road courses that you go through? I know you were talking with me just a little bit before we went live and was talking about the likes of how Sebring is such a great challenge for you. And how would that be for Sebring, for example, to be as much, if not maybe equal to, as a challenge of, say, somewhere like this, like Long Beach?
Yeah, you know, these two are very different challenges. Long Beach, or any street course really, you've got to build up your speed. You've got walls right there. You can't afford to over push. At a place like Sebring, you can kind of come out of the gate and really push a lot harder from the get-go. Here, you've really got to build up speed because those walls are so close and you don't want to end up smacking one of them.
And there you can see what makes multi-class so very important here. The McLaren out here looking to make a challenge here. It's the number 22. It's the yeah, absolutely. And you can see here the class colors on the side here of your timing tower as well. You can see anybody who is in the blue is your Grand Sport class. Anyone on the left here, Taylor, is going to be that all-important challenging TCR class.
It certainly is. Kind of similar to what we see with the IMSA broadcast here. We like to differentiate to show the viewers here the different classes that we'll be seeing competing here as we watch the 22 machine coming out to start his first lap in qualifying in his McLaren, one of the newer GT4 cars that were transports cars that have come on to the service in recent times. A beautiful car to drive. It has a lot of speed that you can use, carry a lot of momentum through some of these corners, and of course the Hyundai Elantra that is part of that we see our very own Tyler Maxson compete in.
Absolutely, and we see a lot of drivers out here trying to get as much as they can out of the laps. They have 8 minutes in qualifying to set their laps, and that is a hard count of 8 minutes. After that, all times are stopped and you move over to 30 minutes worth of race. Nerves will be jangling at this point, Tyler. You get in, you've seen opportunities, but you just have at home as much of an opportunity to race. You can start your iRacing career today with us at iRacing.com. You can get 40% off of your first subscription if you sign up today and get yourself in with amazing action. But Tyler, those nerves that go along, how important is it is just to keep yourself calm, understand what time you've set and the drivers you're going to be around for the race?
Yeah, exactly. This is the time once you finish up your qualifying run, you out of the stresses of qualifying, you just got to kind of sit down, look at where you are in the field, figure out Is this going to be a race that you can kind of control from the front and you're going to be able to be a little bit less aggressive, or are you going to have to really dig on those first few laps to try to get as many places as possible? Because once the field gets spread out, it does get a little bit more challenging to pass at a street course. So those first couple laps are definitely going to be the most action-packed and the best times to make moves.
They are the best times to make moves, and Taylor, we can also say it's the best time to have a moment out there, because you know, we've seen it so many times when it comes to Long Beach. It's a tight, narrow circuit. The fountain is single file, too wide if you're being very, very trepidatious around the circuit. This is not the easiest place to go too wide at.
This is a track that tests the might of all legends in motorsports. We just saw that over the weekend in the Long Beach circuit in the real world with both IMSA and IndyCar competition, where it just absolutely had a tough break for some of the biggest names in motorsports. This track here, when you go too wide, you have to be so careful in trying to pinpoint where you want to set up, as well as make sure who is around you and how you want to race around your competitors here. And of course, the difference is we'll be seeing this here in multi-class racing, two very different styles of cars that will definitely be one to test the limit of both drivers from both different classes.
They certainly will, and we are just moments away from jumping up towards the grid and seeing how everyone is going to be pushing forward where they start for racing action. A rolling start here when it comes to this pilot challenge, and everyone is going to be challenging themselves to their absolute limit. Connor Seatal will take the pole position ahead of Petr Stepanczyk. There in second, it is Greg Professor third and Mark Klangman in fourth position. Moving down the field, you'll see drivers there like Pedro Costa, for example. Jose Luis Cuesta is going to be looking for a good run. So too, Demian Hugenschmidt hoping for a good start today. And at the back of the field, Carl McGurk and William Chadwick will have lots of work to do from the back. Taylor, you've got TCRs.
Well, if we take a look at the front row, it's going to be George Simmons and Naveed Hussein who will have that front row with the Hyundais. And as we look through, we'll also see Michael Polasek in row number 3. Moving a little further down, it is a Hyundai field with Valentin Bonney, who will be in row number 4. And then rounding shotgun will be Erwin Liskowicz, who will be there as well. So a mixed field in the Grand Sports class, but a little bit more of a Hyundai class in the TCR.
Yeah, that Hyundai class definitely looks good. And I think first impressions there, Tyler, from the drivers that go through, the numbers on the cars of these drivers indicate their iRating. It indicates how strong of a driver they are in terms of the iRacing service. It is very telling to see that the TCR field is a lot stronger than Grand Sport by terms of iRating, and that could mean that we have a very, very, I would say, skilled field when it comes to the lapping process.
Yeah, for sure. And the TCRs already are just a little bit more nimble than those GT4s. They got a little bit more downforce, but they don't have as much straight line speed. That's where the GT4s really get them on lap time. So it can be very difficult for a GT4 to pass, especially in the tight first and third sectors here. So that's definitely going to be the spot where GT4s can get held up the most.
Absolutely, and they will be taking their half a pace lap as they line up then and get themselves ready and are situated to pull off then towards the Firestone turn here, this right-hander behind the iRacing Porsche safety car, and they'll be giving themselves opportunities here to try and really go out there to attack the opening laps and to try and give themselves the opportunities that they very much need. They know that they've got 30 minutes on the clock. We know it's going to be a timed race, and look at how they funnel through this final section. Almost a little bit of contact there with the 14 as they go through. Pace car already dives down into the lane, and the wait for the green flag behind the pace of Connor Seatal is right here, right now, and leaves it as late as he possibly could. Green flag in the air, and we are underway with the drive towards turns 2 at Toyota. The important run here through this sweeping right, which leads to the all-important first braking zone at the left. You can see it's going to be all about that run, fanning 2, 3 wide as they go through, but everyone just about trying to make it through. A little bit of contact there for Christian Pereira and Dylan Freckleton, but for the majority of things here, they go through and get things quite nicely situated as they drive through, Taylor.
Mountain turn, everyone makes it through nice and smooth as they work over towards turns 3 and 4. Another little short shoot. Turn 4 and 5 is going to be a little treacherous because you can easily wash up a little bit and cause right up against that wall here as you make the run down to the next set of corners. Very tricky indeed, as we see a little bit of already TCR and Grand Sport cars going side by side.
Oh, and this is what you see so often. Drivers who know that they are right on the cuffs of pace with the stragglers of the field in front. They'll go for it. Great side-by-side action. George Simmons there on the outside, getting a little bit pushed out there by Emilian Schweitzer, and that is going to bring the likes of Konstantin Stolzenberg into play then, already moving through. Gergo Baldi trying to find a way through as well, and that is power around the outside there, holding on to the position. Look at how intense this opening lap has been so far, and we only know it's going to get more and more exciting as this race goes on, Tyler.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, again, something that we see in the real world as well. The TCRs mixing it up with the GT4s in the opening laps. The GCRs only have the front wheels to get up to temperature. The rear wheels are just kind of there, holding on the rear end. The GT4s have all 4 tires, so the TCRs can get their car up to temperature a lot quicker and can start making pace a lot faster as well.
Oh, they absolutely can. They can see second position overall. That is Petr Stepanchik there, and he's got Greg Profeta just behind him, going through that very, very difficult right-hander as they drive around the aquarium and move back to the majority of the city once again. But you can see here the lead here in Grand Sport. You've got the lead as well in TCR. Both battles going on at the same time here for you, and this is what makes great racing. But you can sense at this moment in time, just get yourself settled down here, Taylor. Get yourself into a rhythm and let the race dictate itself.
Certainly is. We had a little bit of an issue as they came out of Pine Avenue.
That's a big issue.
Down the seaside way, big issue with now collecting multiple TCR cars, as you see there on the bottom screen. As we take a look possibly at what happened there, but now we're back live. A lot of issues right there coming out of Pine Avenue where we see multiple cars get together, but still they got themselves gathered back up and continue on. But right now, as we see on screen, Thorsten Ulrich is one to watch and pull away from the field. Naveen Hussain also getting away with no damage.
It looks like it was Casanovas who found himself in trouble creating the issues there, but you can see just how that does bottleneck up the field. And as they run through here in TCI, you can see the headlights flashing from the car in front. That is so typical of what you see. Drivers want to give themselves as much of a run. Thorsten Ulrich leading that class, with just behind him Naveed Hussain trying to keep himself at, I would say, an arm's reach at this point in time. 6/10 between them as they cross the line there, Tyler, and they're going to be hoping that they don't, firstly, A, get held up as they go through by the cars in front, and secondly, what they're trying to do is keep themselves within a range, because within 2 or 3 tenths, you have a chance to make a move around here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things as well. Even if they can't get by, it's best just to sit behind, save a bit of tires, as we're going to see what happened down in the TCR field.
Absolutely. So this is in the early stages here. You can see trying to make that move. Oh, and a heavy hit there for the 25 of Karl McGurk. That is not what you want to be seeing. And that is a place on track that you don't often expect it. It's a short shoot, but it's a very tricky short shoot there, Tyler, to go out there and attack, to go out of the fountain and into the next respective 2 right-handers.
Yeah, and it's a really easy spot to overshoot as well. It's a very tight section. It's very difficult to judge your turning points, judge your braking points through there, and it's very easy to clip that little piece of the wall that sticks out after the fountain section. I've hit that one a couple of times at the rear end, just trying to get all the way back over the left to set up the best for the right.
Battle for second then continues on as Stepanchik holds off Profeta. They've got Mark Fangman just behind, who is really trying to search for the opportunities in the BMW as well. But it is same type of cars that are trying to push. It's still going to be a case of the McLarens look like they are the strongest car here today around this Long Beach circuit. And really, Taylor, it is about just making sure that the car is sat down, because you've got a really sleek or I'd say 2 different styles of car building philosophy here. You've got that really sleek McLaren and you've got that really bulky BMW. Both have their strengths, both have their weaknesses.
They certainly do. Of course, these BMWs are very well respected when it comes to the world of Grand Sport racing and IMSA competition. We've seen these cars go week after week, winning multiple rounds. They have that straight line capability, but the McLarens have been a little bit more better with the aerodynamics of setting up through those mid-corner sections and slower corner sections as we watch them work out of that tight hairpin of turn 11 before heading down Shoreline Drive. It's so critical that they get that run. Now they're starting to build up that power, utilizing a little bit bit of strip stealing right now in order to catch up to the race leader, because slowly but surely they have been catching them here in these past couple of laps.
They certainly have, and they've just been slowly working on it. The battle's still going on, though, in that initial TCR category. Ulrich, Hussein, and they're trying to build this gap here. This is an important stage of the race for Konstantin Stolzenberg right now in the number 2 car. He's trying to stay with this group, and you can see it's Hyundai 1, Hyundai 2, Hyundai 3 at the moment in this field, and it is very much a case of they're trying to race as much as they can. They want to keep the driver who took pole position here at this stage, Tyler, out of this race. They want to keep George Simmons at bay.
Yeah, for sure. And this is some of the most critical times of the race. In this early stages, it's really easy to burn off those front tires. So this is the time they just need to calm down, really save those front tires, and make sure that they have something left at the end of those 30 minutes. This is something that we have to do in the real world and in the sim as well. It's so easy just to take that little bit of life out of the tires this early stages, but it will pay dividends come the end of the race.
And you can see here the 5th and 6th place battle is also going on at the moment. You've got Gergo Baldi and Michael Polasek going out there for positions. And what I've really been noticing as they are trying to get on the brakes is the glow of the brakes as they go into the corners, especially on those rears. You can really see the rears lighting up as they go through here. The Indy left, they're trying to scrub as much speed as they can, keep as narrow as possible. Big slide there from Gergo Baldi moving through, and he's got to be careful about that. He cannot let an opportunity open up, especially on this long straight on Shoreline Drive, as we get ourselves then a little look then as we charge forward. And here's a little look then for Pedro Costa as he looks to charge through into the opening corners.
Costa doing a great job in that BMW, trying to keep up with the pace of the Aston Martin right up ahead of him, of Damon, who's doing a great job hitting the curb a little too hard right there. Got to be careful of too much curbing. Will easily upset that car very quickly, make you wash up a little too wide, especially through that corner there. And as they work down the short chute heading up to Pine Avenue, it's very critical that this area here, you can set up a good run and making your way down Seaside Way.
Absolutely there. Demian Hugenschmidt doing just about enough of a job. Gets really close, though, to those tyres, and that might have just opened the opportunity up. It's still battling on, though, here at the front. Seatal has been reeled in, and it's 5 at the front here at the moment, Tyler, and this is an awkward position, especially if you're 4th and 5th in the train. This is a 30-minute race. Yes, it's a long time respectively, but what you could also say by that measure of metric is that you still don't have, you would say, the endurance style length of time to go and make the moves. You have to get there, analyze the situation, and be decisive when you want to make a pass.
Yeah, for sure. And especially at a track like this where it is so difficult to pass, you kind of have to take anything you can get. So if you're one of those drivers, like you said, back in 4th and 5th, if you get an opportunity to move up a spot, you absolutely need to take it, because you may not get that opportunity again for another 10 to 15 minutes. And with this being a 30-minute race, the opportunities close up very quickly.
And you've also got the battle going on still in TCR to keep in mind as they chase through the fountain. Polasek trying to get past Gergo Baldi out here on track. They started very close together, but crucially, Gergo Baldi made a lot of good progress early on, and they're having to be careful about the ways they are aggressive here, Taylor, because they've got to be concerned about Dominic Corton, who's just behind trying to chase. Look how much the different lines are coming into play. You can see here at this point in time, it is a case of Gergo Baldi trying to find every line to maximize the exit. He almost, I think he just did actually clip the wall there, going through onto the drive.
Yeah, Baldi definitely clipped that wall just barely, but still has the power down as they work down Seaside Way. Michael Polasek also another strong competitive run for him here in the TCR class, as we will go back up to the front of the field now and seeing Ulrich still holding off Hussein, as we now have 4 cars under here battling for that race lead.
It's just what we said, Tyler. George Simmons, they were trying to keep him away, but they started fighting, and all of a sudden, he's back there.
Yeah, he's right back on their tail. It's so easy to do that at a track like this. Just one corner of going side by side, and you can lose so much time here. And this is an important time for George Simmons, though. He's only 20 minutes left in this race. He needs to start making some moves. He can't sit back and forth there, because it's very easy to make a very small mistake here and lose tons of time as well.
Yeah, this isn't the easiest track in the world to, I would say, hold all your time. It's a place where you can lose tenths just by breathing the wrong way. It is such a difficult circuit to get 100% correct, time in and time out. The leading four in the TCR category on the brakes through the T-Cape turn and leading themselves back up towards some of the higher elements of this fantastic circuit, moving through that next right. It's all about setup, and you're trying to find that run, and it's looking like now it's Konstantin Stolzenberg who's realizing, hang on a minute here, Taylor, he needs to try and get this done quickly so that he doesn't have to worry about defending from George Simmons behind.
He certainly does. I mean, he sees Simmons all over the back bumper of his car as we take a look at this replay here of the 6 machine. But it's so critical to make sure you stay right on and find that pass. But let's zoom in here on this path.
Well, this is Gergo Baldi. This is just how close he is trying to drive. He gets really aggressive, and look, he glances off against the wall, and that is the finest margins that you are going to need around this circuit. It was always about taking as much of the track as you can, but respecting the limits. Another little look isn't quite there. The top 4 will stay line astern into Toyota corner, turn number 2. But what they are really looking at is trying to maximize 100%, Tyler, of this track. And Simmons, you can see just on the back there, is really starting to get feisty.
Yeah, for sure, but he has to be careful as well because you don't want to let Ulrich get too far out in front. So these 3 here battling for second have to be very, very careful here not to get too feisty and not to hold themselves up too much.
Absolutely, and they move through again. We've been with them for about a lap. We go on board with George Simmons in 4th position, takes a much different line, taking a little look at the train, where everyone's going, how everyone's taking certain corners and looking to attack in his Hyundai. And now it's all about trying to work out where is the right place to attack and at what time. He's been keeping a close eye on what's been going on, trying to suss out this field. And you'd say at the moment, he's thinking about now almost going down the inside. Room having to be left there by Stolzenberg ever so briefly. That was as much of a sighter shot as he's seen. And he makes a little contact off of the exit as he tries to attack on the straight.
Yeah, he tried to make sure to go to the outside or inside lane of that final turn 10, but then he realized he was going to be on the outside of turn 11, so he has to make sure he had to give a little bit of room and see if he can try to undercut the car in front of him, of course, of Stolzenberg to see if he can move up into P3, but it was not going to work that time. Stolzenberg very smart with defensive driving to keep Simmons behind him as they go back over to the fountain.
Yeah, they go back to the fountain. They go back to that aggressive foray as they look to try and attack through in towards that halfway stage. You put down, Tyler, 15 minutes in this sort of race. It goes by really quickly when you're in a pack and you're battling because you are so laser focused in that sort of situation and almost very nearly running into the back again. It looks like Simmons here, in the way that he is racing right now, he knows exactly the diameter and the length and all of the makings of his machine because he can push it right up to the bumper without touching. Well, Taylor, it is about getting to that back bumper and really trying to get to the place where you can attack.
It certainly is getting up to that bumper and just trying to find the opening you need in order to complete this pass here as we keep on watching these drivers battling. Of course, Simmons just trying to find the opening, but it's so difficult to make it work and make it stick as we could see a battle right here for the lead.
Oh, Naveed Hussain trying to open it up like he's got a crowbar in his hands, trying to find a way past Thorsten Ulrich. But Ulrich is having absolutely none of it at this moment in time. But here will come the chance then on this front stretch. Heavy defense over to the left-hand side. Throws the dummy towards the inside to try and unlock the position. 2 wide, 2 deep as they go through. Contact through the corner. Now we're 3 wide almost all of a sudden. Simmons trying to find through. And there's a bit of contact as they go through. Simmons into the back and suddenly they're all tripping over each other. Ulrich is absolutely hanging on to second. Konstantin Stolzenberg still with the inside at the one-line suits all right, and Simmons trying to unlock the position as well. This is sensational stuff on iRacing Happy Hour.
It certainly is, and I think the biggest winner out of all this is Naveed Hussain, who has checked out to about a 1.7 second lead over Stolzenberg.
Oh my goodness me. George Simmons pushed into the wall there by Thorsten Ulrich, who was doing absolutely everything to hold on to that third place. And there's a backwards car. They're going to have to really avoid that. That's not ideal at all. I'm not sure who that was there as they were going through, but a huge disaster there for that one in Grand Sport. And that, I believe, might have been Hugenschmidt there in that scenario. So definitely not ideal, but that is the pitfalls, Tyler, that sometimes you can have around this place.
Yeah, exactly right. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Look at how big of a lead Hussein has right now. These three are now going to have a massive hole to climb themselves out of. 1.5 seconds around here may not sound like a lot, but it is a lot. That is a big gap to close, especially when the cars are so close in TCR.
Let's take a little look back, though, on that incredible battle. And this is how aggressive you need to be. They'd already been tangling up. Simmons trying to go to the inside. But the way that they were angling in, it was one line suits all as they challenged through. And this was just about trying to sort out position. There was that little tap in the wall. Ulrich was trying everything possible to hold this together. But it is here at this moment, Tyler, that this race effectively becomes a case of hold on for everything you've got. And it is these fine margins around a street circuit. You need to be racing absolutely to the limit, and that was the limit crossed.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just TCR racing at its finest. Super close door-to-door racing, and that's exactly what this class is all about.
Grand Sport hasn't settled down, though. They are still there with 13 minutes on the clock. Connor Seatal still leading, has led every lap of this race so far. Petr Stepanchik in second position, Greg Profeta in third, and Christian Pereira in fourth. One driver who has completely fallen off of this group is Mark Fangman. He's now back in sixth position. But as they move through, top three line astern at the moment, and it is these three McLarens that are trying to get the best that they can. Seatar has been calm and resolute at the front of this field so far, Taylor, but as they know, it's about ticking off laps, and I would say at this track, it is going to be ticking off corners. We're going to take a little look back at Demian Hugenschmidt and his moment.
Let's take a look right here. Let's see if we zoom in on that neighbor 18 machine. I think a little bit, just gets too far wide off, and then a bump right there, and then around he goes once again. It's just a tough break for him. He just was trying to get through the corner, got that severe bump, but when they head down Seaside Way, and then unfortunately just could not get it handled.
Absolutely, and it's still on then for this race lead. It is going to be important, that toe link in the rear, braking there on that Aston Martin, and it very simply put was going to mean that it was going to be dramas. No matter which way you look, that car was going to be impossible to bring around back on circuit. Still though, you can see how close they're trying to attack, and the one key advantage that the leader has, Tyler, around this Long Beach circuit is the ability to put the power down early out of the final corner and give that margin. Seatal took 0.6 of a second, or you would say a 0.3 gain, just because of that, and Greg Profeta senses it. He wants to get past Stepanchik but can't.
Yeah, exactly. And just the ability to have clean air at this track is more important than I think at any other place, because like you said, it gives you the ability to judge how close you are to the wall. You can have the most confidence in getting back to full power. That's something that the drivers in second and third don't have the ability to do. They've got that car in front of them. They can't gauge it as well as the car in the lead can.
Yeah, I was just hearing the background as well, as they've got Christian Pereira trying to chase down this group as well. I believe he just grazed against the wall there, and it's going to be a case of you are really trying to push those limits. And we're seeing here a lot of battling out there, and we've got great battling as well back again here in TCR for fifth position overall, because you've got behind Polasek trying to hold off Dominic Kortum, and Kortum's just been quietly running this race here, Taylor, trying to get himself back into position.
Yeah, a strong run for Kortman as well, as he's been working his way through the field. Started in 23rd position overall, has worked his way up into the top 15 overall, and like you pointed out, 6th in class, looking to see if he can maybe break into the top 5, but really putting the pressure on Michael Polasek, who has dropped back and not able to really catch up to Virgo Baldi, who is having a strong run working his way, trying to see if he can catch up to Simmons, but still a little bit of goes before this race is over. Anything is possible, as we just saw.
We are now into the final third of this race, inside 10 minutes to go, and the race lead and the overall victory still not far from its completion. Stepancic now all over the back of Seatal, up on the top of your screen. On the bottom, the battle for 5th, continuing on in category, soon to be for 4th as well, with Gergo Baldi unable to break away from Polasek and Corton out at this moment. But this is the sort of time where the final stages of this race are so important. You can see Stepancic has been watching for the longest time, Tyler, and now he's thinking about his time to strike, when he's bought himself the ticket to the end, and now he's buying himself an opportunity of victory.
Yeah, and this is what you set up for the entire race. You just need to get to this last 10 minutes, and this is hammer time. This is when you've got to really start making those moves, and any opportunity you get, you have to take it, because this is the time where the opportunities may be limited.
Christian Pereira out of the race then from 4th position. I just saw him going off on the back there. Not ideal at all for number 19, who had been driving pretty close to the margins out there on track, and it just hasn't worked for him, and he loses a chance of a really good points day today as he looks to go through for what is the iRacing official championships here for IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Here's how it goes about. That BMW has been just brushing against the walls, and we've seen it so often around this place. The inside wall, Taylor, has been the absolute sticking point for the majority of drivers today.
It certainly has, and it cost him dearly with that for Christian, and like you pointed out, a very big hit in the points for him as well. He's got a little bit of work to do, of course, when he gets ready for the next round later on. But of course, if he wants to try again, he can just wait another 2 hours and go back out there and see if he can maybe get a little bit of recovery for his run compared to this race.
Absolutely, he's got a chance to do that, and he'll be definitely trying to get this going. This battle for the lead, Connor Seatal, you've got there the battles going through, and let's not forget Naveed Hussain in the number 1 car there in TCR, because that lead battle as well, Tyler, is closing back in, and it has been some great work from Konstantin Stolzenberg. He took 4/10 almost out on that last lap.
Yeah, and in TCR, that is an eternity. 4/10 of a second is a massive chunk of time there for Stolzenberg to be catching Hussain in the lead. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is able to attack in the next few laps, but Hussain as well. It's a very easy track to defend on, so this move may not be super easy, even though it looks like Stolzenberg has the pace over Hussain for the minute.
Absolutely, and we're going to see just how important racing is out there in this TCR class with Hussain versus Stolzenberg at this point in time. This is the driver's eye view from Konstantin Stolzenberg. And, well, Tyler, take us around this place. Take us around Long Beach. Go through what Konstantin Stolzenberg will be going through his mind with 6 minutes, 50 seconds remaining on the clock.
Yes, as we head down the front straightaway and across the start-finish line, this is just about the only break you get around this place. And at this point, you're just thinking about turn 1, thinking about your braking point. It's a very easy braking point to overstep. You're going to hit the brakes just before the turn on the pavement. Don't overshoot it. It's so easy to get in a little bit too hot and hit the outside wall. Then into the fountain section, get as close to the wall on the left, then almost into the bushes there on the right. Again, turn it back right, get it as far left as possible for this right-hander. You can use that inside curve. These cars take curbs beautifully. Then here, take a healthy chunk of curb as you turn to the right, and now another short little break before you get ready to take it to the left. The track widens out on the right, get all the way to the right-hand side, then again, right to the inside wall there. Then you want to let the car flow out just about as wide as possible, but you still got to get it back for the left, because again, super important straightaway here coming up. Get as close to the wall on the inside as you can. It's super difficult to spot your braking point and spot your turning point there. Now again, another just short little break before you head down into one of the trickiest sections on the racetrack. Hitting the brakes just after the 300. Again, use a healthy chunk of curb there. These cars love it. Really helps them turn. Then again, curb again through the second to last corner, and then get as wide as you possibly can heading into the final corner and let the car flow all the way out to that outside wall. But be careful not to understeer and hit that outside wall, because you can easily make contact with it.
You absolutely could. That is a lap along with Tyler Maxson and then around this Long Beach circuit, and it was very telling over the course of that lap to see just how different the two lines were between Naveed Hussain and Konstantin Stolzenberg as they drive in towards turn number 2 at Toyota once again. Run once again towards that fountain, and every time it is about for Naveed Hussain ticking off the laps, counting them one at a time. They've got the gap to third of about 3 to 4 seconds, so they don't have that to worry about. And what's really impressive here, Taylor, is the fact that overall in terms of this race, they're running 8th and 9th on the road, so they've really shown they've got a lot of pace, and it shows you how many casualties there have been today.
Yeah, currently looking through the field, 16 cars are currently making laps around this circuit after we had 25 start off this race. 8 TCR cars, and looking overtime and scoring, we have about 8 Grand Sport cars out on circuit. So it's gotten diminished down quite a little bit, but still fantastic racing all throughout both classes and throughout the entire field of cars here in these closing 4 minutes.
And in this Grand Sport category, it has been a case of Stepanchik over the last couple of laps, Tyler, just barely clinging on in and around 1 second, keeping that mental pressure. And in the wall there, you just saw at the bottom of the screen there for TCR, Konstantin Stolzenberg is really pushing. And I think that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back for the victory.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's really struggling with those front tires. It's super easy to just push them a little bit too hard early, and then he's really going to be feeling the effects of that now. And once the front tires go on a TCR car, it's a little bit difficult to get a lot of pace out of them because you not only put the power down in the front, but you're also doing the turning with the front. So definitely 2 very important tires on these TCR cars.
Front right and front left. Keep an eye on those when you're driving next time when you're on iRacing. Still, though, you got the lead up on the top of your screen for the overall as well. And Stepanchik's done really well this lap to bring that gap back down. Hasn't got himself the chance to really go out there, attack, make a move, so to speak. But as they cross the line, it is going to be close. They are going to be on 3 laps to go at this moment in time. They'll be short by about 20 seconds at the line, there or thereabouts. So an extra lap around here should give another little bit of opportunity out there to go and attack. And you're starting to see it here. Drivers are wanting to give themselves here, Taylor, a little bit of a buffer space for the final couple laps.
Yeah, this is going to be critical to see for both of our class leaders of how they're going to be able to manage those gaps here in these final couple of laps. We see right now Hussain dive into the inside, trying to see if he can shake away from the slipstream that he's giving off to Stolzenberg. Same thing with our leaders in the Grand Sport class with Connor Settle trying to hold on as they work their way through up, I believe that's towards Pine Avenue, and head down Seaside Way. And of course, we see our TCR leaders now approaching Toyota towards the Fountain Curve.
Absolutely, and we're seeing here just how close these drivers are testing the margins. 2 battles for the victories, both pretty much hanging on the finest line as they go through. You can't take your eyes off it here as they run forward. Your leaders overall through the Indy left, and it's all about trying to set up an attack. Now, here's the question, Tyler. At what point do you go out for the all-out attack for it? There are chances to make lunges and big moves for the victory, but you have to really set them up here.
Yeah, I think this is the time when you've got to do it. There's at most 2 laps to go right now, so you don't have a lot of opportunity. There isn't a lot of opportunity of passing around here. So if you get an opportunity, you absolutely have to take it because you may not get it again.
You absolutely may not, and you're seeing here, it's just that frustrating gap as well here. Taylor, when you see drivers and it's 3-4 tenths of a second, they can't quite push it to 2 or 3 tenths to attack. How frustrating is that going to be, and how important is it just to stay calm under the conditions?
It's very frustrating when you know for a fact you are one driver who can challenge for this race lead. And in fact, take a look at the TCR category. We see Konstantin was a 10th faster. That's so frustrating when you know you're faster than your competitor, but yet it's so difficult to pass at a track like Long Beach that you can't find that opening to make the passes. That's where you have to settle in, be patient, and wait to see if the driver ahead of you can make that mistake for you to capitalize. If not, though, we're going to probably see one of these 2 drivers in these battles try to see if they can be a little bit brave and make a desperate decision and make a pass, or just try to settle in, get the good finish, and get the point. So we'll find out here.
Your overall leaders on the top of your screen are about to take the white flag lap, the final lap of this 3.06 kilometer Long Beach circuit. It's all about trying to attack. It is all about giving everything that you have possibly got. And now, what can you do at this moment when you've got Connor Seatal 7 tenths of a second at the line, pushing away. Tyler, this is where Stepanchik has got to find some magic.
Yeah, and this is when you just got to give it absolutely everything. Anything you have left in the tank, this is the time to use it. And this is also for Cital when he's got to do the same thing. Give it absolutely everything, but keep it within the realm. You don't want to end up flipping one of those walls because you can very quickly throw away a victory.
You absolutely can. And remember, Greg Profeta is there in third position. The TCR cars moving over then, starting their final lap as well. Hussein pulling away now from Stolzenberg. That gap also around 0.7 of a second at the line. Moving through, though, through the right onto the seaside run. Now for the likes of Cital and Stepanchik. Stepanchik, this is probably the last great place he's got. He's still got that hairpin, and now he goes to 101 of the Sim Racer's handbook, trying to get in the mirrors, force a mistake out of Cital, who has been undeterred over the course of this race, has kept the entirety of it in position number 1, and at the hairpin throws everything possible but cannot get close enough. Connor Cital will go light to flag as he will win here at Long Beach with what was an incredible drive. Still on as well, though, for the leading battle in TCR, and it's pretty much here, Taylor, coming down to a case of what can Konstantin Stolzenberg do?
He's got a one good shot to utilize the slipstream to catch up to Hussein down Seaside Way, but as they approach the Indy left, he's going to have to send it in there, and he's right on the crest of the edge to hold on, but he's going to have to see what he can do here on the Indy left and the final hairpin.
Well, the chance, I think, has just evaporated. Really aggressive in, trying to get a run off the exit, almost clipping the inside wall there. Goes Naveed Hussein, who has had to weather the pressure, and he will come to the line and take the TCR category with what was an all-important defensive drive, taking what he needed when he needed to. Tyler, that was an exhibition of the highest caliber.
Yeah, that was an incredible battle for the lead there, and those two gave it absolutely everything. You could see the tires of Stolzenberg were just off a cliff there at the end, but he still managed to hang on and come home second.
He absolutely did, and what an incredible element of racing we were able to see. It is Connor Cital, makes it McLaren 1, 2, 3, and 4 there at the front, with Petr Stepanchik finishing in second, 0.3 of a second back. Greg Profeta will take third, and a quiet, underrated drive for Dylan Freckleton. He will take fourth ahead of Mark Fangman in fifth position. Jacob Lehman will take sixth, with Pedro Costa in seventh position. And in terms of the category class for Grand Sport, Emilian Schweitzer finishing in eighth position. Then you hit the retirees like Christian Pereira, Demian Hugenschmidt in a world of trouble here today. So too Carl McGurk, we saw early on, William Chadwick, Jose Luis Cuesta in trouble, and Manu Casanovas not able to make it to the finish either. As in TCR, we have Taylor Burris.
With, of course, none other than Naveed Hussein, who will take home the race win in the TCR category, with Konstantin Stolzenberg, who will come home in second, so car number 1 and car number 2 taking home the top 2 spots. Gergo Baldi will come home in third, followed by Michael Polasek in fourth. Then it's Dominic Portman, who will be in the fifth position. Salvo Sardinia will be in sixth, with George Simmons having a tough break in seventh position.
Absolutely. Some amazing results out there. Some great results in TCR. Some great results there in Grand Sport. But Tyler, in terms of how you would translate that as a sim race compared to what you race out there every time you go out and put those battles together, how much of a translation would you say that was between what you see in the real world and what you've seen today in the virtual?
It's scarily similar. It is so realistic with how the GT4s and the TCRs interact, and also just how close the battling is in TCR. It's one of those things that it's so difficult to replicate, but iRacing does so well, and it's one of those classes it's so aggressive, and the cars are so strong that there's so much contact in that racing, and iRacing just does a great job of simulating that, and it's insane at how close they've actually gotten it.
They are so close, and we have seen some amazing close battling here in the iRacing Happy Hour, but we've seen amazing close battling here with this Skip Barber Formula iRacing Series. And their next action comes along on the 17th. That will be Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, Easter Sunday, Road America. And that will be so brilliant to see. It was so similar. We're believing it's going to be very similar to the likes of this race here at Watkins Glen. And that could be an absolute treat to go and see amazing racing bring itself into the fold and onto your screens as well. But Taylor, you know, you've put yourself in a great position with these sorts of races. How do you now translate that into what it means for a sim racer, which anybody can go and become?
It's certainly an incredible opportunity, and we've seen that with some of the biggest names in motorsports start off in the world of sim racing and work their way up to work into a chance to compete at the highest echelons of motor racing. And with this Skip Barber Racing School, for example, it's a phenomenal opportunity for those who want to have a shot to compete and work in the world of open wheel racing and have a chance to compete for a full season in this Skip Barber series, which is a phenomenal opportunity, a great partnership that both iRacing and Skip Barber have come together for.
Absolutely, they have done, and it has been wonderful to see all of the amazing racing that has gone on so far. And that is also another series that anybody can sign up for with Skip Barber and give themselves chances and opportunities to race and put hot laps in and use the time trial system that's here in iRacing, and so many amazing elements and assets that go through. But there is also great racing coming along with the likes of this, the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, which is going through at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps April 23rd, and that will be at 7 p.m. GMT. Now, Tyler, when it comes to Porsches, this is the sort of car which everyone wants an opportunity to go and drive. It's probably the most competitive series out there in terms of iRating and skill level as they go through and try and challenge. And Spa-Francorchamps is probably the legendary jack-of-all-trades circuit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm expecting some awesome racing for that one. Definitely one to watch for sure, because like you said, this is such a competitive series and these guys are just so good. The racing is always incredible, and at a track like Spa, it's guaranteed to be awesome.
It absolutely is, and you can join so many amazing people with that, with Paul Smith and Matthew Trivett-Sadekis there as well for racing action that will be going through at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps over on the 23rd. So a little wait for that, but that will be next week. So make sure that you put that in your calendar, mark it down, and get yourself in for that element of racing. But some incredible racing is still due to come up in terms of what we're going through, and this is the chance that I get to talk to James Pike and Blake McCandless here, as we're going to be moving and switching ourselves over towards some NASCAR C-Fixed action. And James, really, this is the sort of action where everyone tries to get in, learn their, I would say, or ply their trade when it comes to iRacing to get up to the likes of eNASCAR.
Yes. Thank you, Jake, and greetings to all of you watching wherever you might be around the world. We're about to go racing with the vehicles of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at the dirt version of Bristol Motor Speedway. So, Blake, it's pretty much polar opposite of what we just saw with the Grand Sport and the TCRs at Long Beach, very flat, bumpy street circuit. We'll have the bumps, but there's pretty much nothing that carries over between what we just saw and what we're about to see with the trucks at Bristol.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you watched the Coke Series race the other night, there are bumps, literal bumps. A lot of the screenshots after that race, you had guys absolutely all four tires off the ground, so that will certainly develop as well. But you're exactly right. Nothing like what we just saw at Long Beach, going to the Bristol Dirt and doing it with the trucks, which I think are a vehicle. It debuted in NASCAR on dirt at Eldora all those years ago, and I think it's continued to provide, I think, some of the best dirt racing that we've seen on the NASCAR side of things. And even if you're thinking about iRacing history, James, this is a series that has a long-dated history. I can remember back in the sim 10, 11 years ago, this was the first series to be offered on the NASCAR side of things, up the NASCAR ladder, that had a fixed series and has often been one of the most popular series that are used on the oval license side of iRacing.
Part of the ladder that eventually leads you to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, which, if you're looking for their next broadcast, April 26th at 9 p.m., we'll go racing from Dover Motor Speedway for round number 6, the 2022 campaign. You can see some of the best oval sim racers in the world ply their trade at the Monster Mile. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot different than what we have on tap this afternoon, evening, as we transition into it with the dirt at Bristol. At this point, we are going to step aside and take a quick break, but as we get ready for truck racing, we're going to let you listen into some of the audio that we heard at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Here's our open mic feature from an earlier round this season of the Coke Series at AMS.
I just hope we have a clean race.
Yeah. Looking forward to this race.
I'm just not very comfortable right now with this car. You know, like last year I felt like I could win any given week. I can't win this one.
Dude, I used to be nervous before these shits.
Yeah, but then you won, and then you're in the playoffs. Jimmy just lays back. You do whatever you want.
Well, we qualified well, so if we just don't it up, don't get up, we got something. I never finished top 10 here, so
we got to win in the bank, have fun, do some of that driving
Yeah.
Try to go 2 for 2.
I'll have to work a little harder for this one, I do believe, but got a good car. See what we can do. Get some brakes. Think we'll be all right.
Have fun, Don. 100 laps. Let's get this.
Yep.
Just beat it.
The haters.
Let me tell you something now. Let me remind you as we're doing this last pace lap. You hit somebody, you ain't racing next week, right?
Pace car will head down and in. The field is in the hands of the Logitech G Chevrolet for Nick Ottinger as we say, let's go racing in Atlanta.
Roland, get up front here. Any chance you get to get out of the way, you're more than welcome.
Still outside, half up in front.
You might be able to clear boost, so you're clear right now. Plenty clear.
You have a quick hole behind the 48. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Nope, no, gone.
Don't do that. I can see what's going on, you know.
Boy, Evan, they are getting hefty up here at the front. It was 3 wide for the lead and trouble in turns 3 and 4.
Oh, we got a wreck.
Check up, 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 clear,
Who? What? Was that Justice? What?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
That lapper was by himself in the bottom, came up, got his right sides on the track, and then got loose and just shot up.
Did Derek cause that?
a little bit.
Oh no.
Justice just LePage the field. Like, I'm not even joking.
And now we'll see what the rest of this race has in store. Pace cars off and in. Alfala gets going. It's a good jump for the 51 Toyota, but how long will this last?
About to go wrecking up front here. You're clear. It's a cell spin, but he's clear. The track's clear. That was a quick 360.
Kerwin turned Busa in the tri-oval out of 5th, and he did a 360, pointed it straight, and then kept going.
Probably the best case scenario for Busa there is it's not a junked race car. He's still in the top 10.
I don't think there's any way people stay out here.
I think if everybody pits, I need to pit though, honestly.
I disagree, but it's up to you.
But under the yellow now, the question is, how do you execute on pit road? A fake out, Bolin comes back, Zelensky comes back onto the racetrack. It's a 50-50 split in the top 10.
Oh, the whole field went behind us. Yes. Oh no, we are done.
Oh, we just got so screwed. So screwed. The whole field went after we stayed.
Unbelievable.
They all pit behind you. Dude.
Unbelievable, bro.
Damn it!
They're gonna wreck. You're fine.
Yeah, I think it's clear, Blake. They wanted more drivers to stay out with them. They needed a more of a buffer to the cars on fresh tires, and we will go to eNASCAR overtime. Graham Bolin in control of the field. He wastes nothing. Green flag flies. It's overtime. Attempt number 1.
Still middle 3.
Oh, in front of you. They're up on the top, staying up top. Wrecking in front of you still. They're in the middle of the track. They're in the middle of the track. Staying right in the middle. Staying right in the middle. Might slide up to you. Slide up. Get past it. Holy sh**.
I went off into 3 and was just wrecking, bro. God. Of course. I had an easy top 10.
Several big players involved in that incident after they had such good nights to kick this thing off.
Time to show us why you're a multi-time champion. I'd rather have 4 tires and going forward than no tires and going backwards, so.
What was that?
I just said don't suck.
Just don't wreck
I don't
me,
know.
please.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll even matter, because
Whatever you guys do, just don't wreck me.
I'll do my best.
You think Steven's gonna win this then?
I mean, he's got fresh tires, doesn't he?
And the lights go out on top of the iRacing official pace car. We will try this again for attempt number 2 at a green-white checker overtime restart.
Waiting. Go.
Lucy did not get a good jump. You got plenty of room behind you right now. Great start.
Top of 3, you're fine. Top of 3. Again, we're racing the 75, who's on the bottom with you. Keep digging. Yep, 75's got held up with the 10. Keep rolling hard. Still inside door. Nothing in front of the 48 if you get there. Coming to white.
Ah, shit, there's nowhere to go. No, go to the middle. Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Oh, he's going to the middle. Oh, no.
You're okay. Keep digging.
Can Steven Wilson hang on for one more corner? They touch behind, and Steven Wilson wins in Atlanta.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Woo!
Go.
Good shit, boys. Good work on the set, Dustin, Houston. Wouldn't be here without you, boys.
You guys think I made the right call there?
Yes, that was. I think.
It was f***ing scary though.
This is iRacing.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to coverage of the iRacing NASCAR Class C Fixed Series during iRacing Happy Hour, utilizing the vehicles of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from the dirt version of Bristol Motor Speedway in virtual Bristol, Tennessee. James Pike alongside Blake McCandless here, and Blake, dirt racing with the trucks at Bristol. Just something, I think, right and fitting about the dirt being the host for the trucks of all things. You would expect to take a truck in real life on dirt, so I expect we're going to be in for a good show, especially when you consider the history that these particular vehicles have on dirt, even compared to the Cup Series.
Yeah, certainly so, James. I think the truck is probably one of the more fitting vehicles that we see that are able to attack the dirt. I think that's why NASCAR went to them such a long time ago. And again, kind of going back to the roots of iRacing, again, this is exactly what you see every single day out there if you're trying to compete or make your way up the ladder here in iRacing. I know we have our Coke Series. We have all of our top-level elite competition here, but this is day-to-day. This is drivers who at 5:15 on a Thursday afternoon, at least here on the Eastern Seaboard. This is what you're going to load into every single day here in iRacing. So it's the good, the bad, but again, I love that this is kind of a true iRacing, get back to the roots, and just let's watch a race of what these drivers go through every day when you sign up for on the service.
Yeah, as far as the bread and butter of iRacing goes on a regular basis, it is this series more so than any other oval series on the service that has the greatest number of participation. You'll see more drivers competing in the Class C Fixed Series than you will any other series on the oval side of iRacing. So this very much in that sense, I think, Blake, is a race for the people. This is the very same series that a lot of these drivers participate in, that pretty much everybody at some point on the other side of iRacing has run, but getting featured on the big channel with a broadcast to boot.
It certainly doesn't hurt. And again, I know we mentioned it kind of at the top of the show that, this was the first series in iRacing on the oval side of the ladder to traditionally have fixed racing. And it's always been why it's been such an incredibly popular series for these trucks to run in. Even when you think about the trucks that were first put into iRacing, scanned back in 2009, it was so popular at the time, and it's continued to remain kind of the mainstay. If you're an oval racer, you're going to cut your teeth at some point here in the C-Fix series.
Getting our first look here at qualifying. Bristol, this is Corey Boudinot on the racetrack right now. You'll see these drivers figuring out a line for qualifying, but Blake, as we saw in the Coke Series race on Tuesday night, the line that you run in qualifying likely will not be the same that you run over the course of the actual race, because this track surface is going to transition significantly as you progress through the evening.
Well, certainly so, and we'll take a look at this track map and show you exactly where these drivers are going to be running tonight at this dirt version of the Bristol Motor Speedway. Again, one thing of note is that they have updated the banking from 24 to a progressive 24 degrees of banking, and of course that'll change as the drivers continue to work over this racetrack. The surface is clay. You can look at the elevation there, and again, the same distance that you would typically run around Bristol. It's just covered in dirt. The race format here tonight, though, 45 laps, so relatively short race, but that's what tends to go in these fixed races. They turn over every hour, so 45 laps is all that'll be required. And of course, James, these drivers who qualify for this race based off of their oval license, this race will be using, however, dirt iRating and dirt safety rating, although you get into the race based off your standing, which at least has to be a Class D 4.0 or above to get in.
The other big number, 45 laps that we're going to run this evening as Daniel Molstjana completes his qualifying run, bounces off the fence there a little bit. Other thing that I'm noticing here, and another difference with this session in this race compared to what we saw on Tuesday night, we are in broad sunshine and daylight. The Coke Series ran on Tuesday night. We were under the lights in the evening, just as you're going to see with the Cup Series in real life on Sunday night. So track should be a little bit warmer, a little bit slicker. It could be a little bit trickier for these drivers to navigate around Bristol, and it will likely be more important for these drivers to find the cushion that you see a lot of these folks qualifying on as we get closer towards the race.
That is a very large change, James. I remember back to Tuesday night, the track temperature was 57 degrees. It's nearly 30 degrees warmer than that for these trucks. So like you said, going to be very slippery out there, at least compared to what we saw on Tuesday night. And likewise, I think you'll see drivers kind of moving around a little bit earlier in this race. And I think these trucks we know the next-gen car is very sturdy, but I believe these trucks are going to be very sturdy as well. Another note, James, for tonight, for those looking to make their way to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series is actually running Bristol tonight. They'll take the dirt off first, but they are going to be running, I believe, round number 5 of the Road to Pro campaign at the concrete version of this racetrack.
You got a Class A license and the proper safety rating, you too can compete and potentially make your way up to the Coke Series. It's the beginning of the ladder that eventually leads to the very top of eNASCAR. And for more information on how to start your iRacing career, you can log on to iRacing.com today to find out all the tracks, all the cars, all the series that you can get involved in when you join iRacing. A lot of fun. Likewise, if you want to stay tuned into the world of eNASCAR and want all the latest news and updates, take that QR code and scan it on your mobile device. You can pick up all the information from NASCAR and iRacing, the official simulation partner. Sign up today for all the eNASCAR updates you'll ever need. Other thing that we didn't get the chance to note during qualifying, but you might have seen it. I don't think we've had the chance to showcase it all that much, especially here on the main iRacing channel. All new bodies that got an update in the March build. So we've got the new noses for the Chevrolets, the Fords, and the Toyotas. And the Toyotas takes a completely brand new truck as well. Got a big update for 2022. So new trucks for this season of racing in Class C as well.
That's certainly the point, James. The nose on these cars, especially on the Chevy, obviously a lot different. And like you said, the Toyota, a complete overhaul on that race car. The Ford F-150, not much of a change or a facelift on that truck. They're all still the same. The performance in the sim, of course, though, is the exact same. But, of course, you get to choose your preference. If you like the new look of the Toyota Tundra or the Chevy Silverado that's updated, well, guess what? You get that as well. And, of course, members were not charged for that change. So it was just updated along with the current truck that was in iRacing. And, James, I believe that we are done with qualifying. So I think we're set to go here in just a moment.
closing in on the start of our race. But yes, you make a very good point that these trucks all perform equally, and because we're fixed setup racing, the setups are all the same on these trucks. So whoever goes to victory lane this evening will be all about skills. We roll into our starting grid for this Class C fixed race. Graham Bolin, your pole sitter alongside Garrett White. Michael Frisch roll off from fourth. Benjamin Walker starting there in row 2 as well. Gary Sexton and Mason Sweet rolling off from 5th and 6th.
7th will be Indy Kirchenbauer with Peter Kabowski in 8th. Davey Davis will make up the 9th starting spot on the inside of row number 5. Logan Romney James will complete your top 10.
Chandler Parsons and Austin Johnson there in 11th and 12th. Michael Cozy Jr. and Daniel Mosteller in row 7. Starting 15th is Eric Zelski and Corey Boudinot in the mix as well. You see the rest of your starting grid scrolling across your screens as they get set to make pace laps around Bristol Motor Speedway for the very first time.
And again, a little bit of a contrast, James, to what we're used to watching here on this channel when we see so much of the elite racing that's going on. You have very, very close qualifying times that are oftentimes a tenth of a difference between starting first and starting 20th. There's more of that of a difference between Graham Bolin, who sits on the pole, and by the way, is an NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, and Garrett White, who ran a 20.281 in second. Graham Bolin a 20.157, and a huge gap back to even the 20th starter, or the 21st starter rather, the last driver to put a qualifying lap down in Lucas Kuhn, who ran a 21.645. So about a second and a half of a gap separating this field.
Yep, 1.5 seconds. Big gap, but again, not every day that you see these trucks racing on dirt, so maybe a little bit less experience for some of these drivers in the field compared to the asphalt or the concrete that they normally race on. Meanwhile, Graham Bolin, I have to believe he's got redemption on his mind a little bit. He was so strong in the Coke Series race, lost that link to Nick Ottinger, who took home the checkered flag, but Graham was strong all evening long. I would expect him to be right up near the front in this race as well.
Oh, no doubt about it. I think he's going to be up front, and I also think that you're going to really see the difference between drivers who use their oval license to get into this race and may not be too comfortable with the dirt. Of course, we have a lot of drivers who run everything that iRacing has to offer. Oval, road, dirt oval, everything. But I think it'll be interesting seeing a lot of drivers who perhaps aren't used to running on the dirt, how they're able to tackle it. But they have had a couple of days. We have been changed over to Bristol Dirt since Monday night.
We'll see how they all tackle it as Graham Bolin steps on the gas pedal, and we are live with the iRacing NASCAR Class C Fixed Series from the dirt version of Bristol Motor Speedway. Big battle here in the middle of the pack. You see a lot of trucks going after it. Michael Frisch is there. Gary Sexton is there. All in the ballpark, right on the edge of the top 5 and down to the bottom. How about Indy Kirchenbauer trying to make that low lane work when everybody else, at least for now, is up high?
And I would think, James, that you have to look at your NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver and Graham Bolin, who is running right along the wall as the rest of the field moves along with them. But trouble in the back of the pack. It looks like Thomas O'Leary got the worst end of it, spun around, and a little bit of contact here further back in the field. He's going to get the worst end of it. A lot of damage on that number 3 iRacing Toyota. And that is going to be how it starts. Caution flag number 1 and lap number 2.
See whether or not we can't get a replay up in a few moments to show you all what happened, but O'Leary indeed got the worst of it. Got a good look at some of the damage from our perspective. We'll show you what we've seen here in just a few moments as we'll now get a look at the replay and show you what exactly happened to Thomas O'Leary. You see these 3 trucks there in the middle. Yeah, there was contact in front of them, and they just all sort of bounced together, and there was nowhere you could go. But that, to me, biggest thing that I noticed in that, look at the way the drivers ahead of Thomas were already sideways. It underscores just how difficult it is to control these vehicles on dirt because the grip levels compared to concrete or asphalt just aren't as high. You can't immediately turn the vehicle and expect it to move. You have to turn and sort of account for a bit of a delay in steering input to get the truck to go where you actually want it to go.
Well, and it's a lot different even if you are familiar with dirt. Most of the drivers out here who will run a UMP modified or the big blocks very often is you have little weight and cars and vehicles that are meant for dirt. Obviously, this truck very, very heavy and drives a lot different than any vehicle that you would drive on the dirt, and that's something that'll be tough to get used to, and is something that when these trucks get out of shape, they're very hard to correct because a heavy vehicle on dirt just is not able to react very quickly.
The best analogy that I've heard is that you almost have to treat these vehicles like boats in the water, and the way that a boat reacts when you try and turn the wheel and move the sails, it's the same sort of idea on dirt, in that your response isn't immediate. It's not a lightning quick input that you get, so you have to be thinking ahead more often than not in order to not only get the truck to turn where you want it to turn, but ultimately to put down the best lap times, lap after lap after lap after lap, and find ways to be consistent to move yourself towards the front as well.
Definitely the case, James. You see the lights going to go off the pace truck here, and actually we're going to get a little bit of a delayed green, I think, to allow some drivers who, oh no, looks like some issues under caution here on the front straightaway.
A reminder of the format for this evening's race. We're going 45 laps worth of racing, just under 24 miles, just under 40 kilometers with the vehicles of the NASCAR Cayman World Truck Series. No need for pit stops. You should be able to complete this race with the amount of fuel and the tires that you have available when these drivers took the green flag. If you've got a Class D license of 4.0 or above on the safety rating, you can jump in, and every hour on the 15-minute mark, you can jump in to a Class C fixed session. So if you're liking what you're seeing and you want to go racing here, wait about, maybe 45 minutes or so, and you could jump in to the very next race in this series if you have the appropriate license.
And again, that's why, James, I think a lot of the series here on iRacing are separated by about 2 hours. If you run a fix, it'll typically run, if it runs at 6 o'clock, it'll run at 8 o'clock the next hour. That's another reason this series is a mainstay, is it runs every hour, so you get a lot of racing in just 2 or 3 hours. You can run 2 or 3 races.
It's a great way to get experience as Graham Boland takes off once again. We're back to green flag racing at Bristol. And it'll be a big battle between Garrett White and Benjamin Walker to try and figure out who's going to go after Graham Boland for the race lead. Look at White with the power move on the inside to try and get to the door panel of Boland in 3.
Well, then Boland going to go with the defensive line right there to try to cut off any potential slide job that Garrett White could try to throw. But that number 10 machine looking awfully strong there in the middle of the pack as we ride on board here a little bit further back. You can see these drivers really starting to work towards the top of the racetrack. Only a couple right now trying to favor that bottom. I think these trucks are just able to carry so much momentum on the top. Oh, a little bit of contact there is the 14. That is Logan Romney. A little bit of contact there with Chandler Parsons.
As we ride on board with Austin Johnson, great view of all the battling here. This is right around 11, 12, 13, 14, just outside the top 10. As you see, I believe that's Logan Romney, who's able to get to the inside and get clear of everybody and go after Davey Davis. Meanwhile, get a good look here at Michael Cozy Jr., who has found himself a bit of an island of peace in all this madness.
And these battles starting to take place all over the racetrack. And, a little bit of contact there. The 18 up into the wall. A nice maneuver there by Romney to try to get out of the way. And we're going to focus in now on Michael Cozy Jr., who I know was a Contender Series driver, nearly made it all the way through the rank system. And James, a driver who will be running in that Road to Pro race just a little bit later on tonight on the concrete. But I think he wishes he was there right now, as that is a big move by Austin Johnson.
Big stack up there as you see this battle for second. It's Garrett White trying to fight with Michael Fish for the position. Everybody's still stuck up along the cushion, which is where you want to be. It's that edge where the packed-in dirt meets the sort of loose dirt. There's a bit of a line that forms just the outside, just underneath the wall. That's traditionally where the most grip is on dirt tracks. That's why you see drivers running there as one truck goes sideways and around and into the wall. I believe that was over in turn 3 to bring out our second yellow flag of the evening.
The 22 of Philip or Dorsam looks like a little bit of contact there on the back straightaway, and James, one thing I think that's important to note here, and is something that I think often comes up when we watch these Coke Series races and see these drivers that are so far out front. We'll get to that in just a moment as we look at what happened there to bring out our second yellow flag here on lap number 13. And like you said, a little bit of room, or at least not a lot of room right there for Julian Valdez, who gets shoved down the racetrack. They play tag a little bit until that 22 hooked into the right rear, and that is an awfully tough position to be entering that corner.
That almost looked like they were both trying to correct their trucks and get them pointed in the right direction and pointed straight, but they kept on bouncing off of each other so much that eventually they ran into each other and went spinning around over in turn 3. Either that or they're not exactly happy with one another. One of the two, I think, is definitely true. Have to see how it plays out over the course of the rest of this race. But another quick yellow flag here as we work lap 16 of 45, already a third of the way through proceedings in this race. This 5:15 start on the Eastern Seaboard for the iRacing NASCAR Class C Fixed Series, utilizing the vehicles of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Again, this the most popular series in all of the oval side of iRacing. More drivers in this series than in any other series on the service so far as the ovals go, and lots of fun to be had. But lots of great racing coming up in the world of iRacing over the course of the next few days. The Skip Barber Formula iRacing Series will be in action from Road America on April 17th, coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern, round 5 of their championship. They've had some great racing so far in the first few rounds of their campaign. And Road America, a classic circuit that I'll openly admit, Blake, it's a track that I have come to appreciate and love more and more as I've experienced it primarily through iRacing. I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan, but now that I've seen it so much in the sim, I really do love Road America. I'm looking forward to watching this race.
No, certainly so. I think these guys, I remember they put on a race at VIR a couple of weeks ago, and this is a very competitive series. Drivers are right on top of each other, a lot of overtaking, so this is some of the best racing that you see. Obviously, see Matt Busa as well. The NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competes in this series as well, and I think of any of these road vehicles that have come out here recently on the road side of the service, James, this iRacing Formula IR4 is a real treat to drive. A really, really fun car.
Really, really good for creating a lot of the close racing that, I mean, shoot, we don't need to say anything. Just watch the video of how they were running at Watkins Glen there. And it tells you everything you need to know about how tightly bunched those cars can get, how close the racing can be, and how entertaining it can be to watch. As we'll return to the action here at Bristol, we should, I think, be set for the lights to come off on the pace truck momentarily. Graham Boland's been in control of this from the drop of the green flag, but we also haven't really had the longest of green flag runs for anyone to really be able to get up there and challenge him. So we'll see whether or not Michael Frisch has the opportunity to do just that when we go back green flag racing, as one to go has come from the flag stand.
One to go, but I'm interested to see how Graham Boland and what he can do here to pull away. I think oftentimes we forget, we see these Coke guys competing against each other here on the channel so much, and everybody sees the great driving, the mistakes that they make, and they think, well, sometimes, how are these guys Coke drivers? Look at Graham Boland here on this next run. You can see the difference. These Coke guys are so good, so talented. I think we oftentimes kind of forget that because we see them racing against each other so often.
You almost lose an appreciation for the skill, and then you see them in series like this, and you understand the threshold that they hit. As you go back to green flag racing, working lap 20 of 45, side by side, a little bit further back for second. Another really strong run from Garrett White down on the bottom, who's been able to make that inside lane work, especially off the restarts. Can he stay alongside Michael Frisch, though? For the moment, he's still there.
Not able to do that. As we go on board here with Indy Kirchenbauer, you're going to see further back here in the pack just how this traffic unfolds. Everybody trying to fight right now for the top lane, beating and banging, rubbing on each other a little bit. This is further on back in the pack, and it just goes to show you that you enter these C-Fix races, you are fighting for every single position. There's more contact there right in front of him. Austin Johnson right in the middle of that. A big slide job being thrown on Romney, and Romney will cross over 3 wide behind him.
It's been really fun to watch Logan Romney and Davey Davis because they've effectively pulled slide jobs of one another, and now here comes Austin Johnson trying to do something similar, but Logan pretty much just parked it right in the center of quarter in front of Davey a lap ago. Davey returned the favor, but Logan got him back, and so now they're just as they were. Meanwhile, Andy Kirstenbauer still running behind all this group, trying to avoid the rear bumper contact there, though, with Tyler O'Neill.
O'Neill, somebody that we know is going to be awfully aggressive there. A little bit of contact with the 18 of Kirchenbauer there down the front straightaway. And I know somebody, if there's one person that doesn't appreciate somebody that's in their way, it's Tyler O'Neill. So we'll see what he's able to do here. But a nice battle also being put up by Michael Cozy Jr. on the bottom. And again, this is battling for the 13th position, James. So these guys, they take everything, every single position they fight for.
Further up the field, we're seeing this battle begin to string out and beginning to see the leaders separate from the rest of the pack. You see barely anyone else on the screen here in this battle for third and fourth. This is Garrett White and Mason Sweet, and Benjamin Walker just off the back of the screen up towards the very top. You can see the shades of his yellow and red truck, but our attention here on the battle for third, and Graham Bolin clear of this battle by about 1.4 seconds. Effectively on the bottom of your screens further off the picture.
Well, and I think one thing to note, James, is that we're not going to see the same degradation that we saw on Tuesday night. Not near as many vehicles out here, 23 instead of 40, and obviously a much shorter race as well, only 45 laps. So you're not going to quite see this top lane wear away as much as what we saw on Tuesday night as we ride on board with Julian Valdez back here in that 15th position, just behind that battle that we were chronicling just a little bit ago. He's trying to find a way to make that middle work, but right now that top just still very, very strong. But yet, as they continue to run that top, and everybody's doing it, you can start to see some more mistakes as drivers starting to play a little too closely with that cushion.
You try and find the edge of the cushion, you end up smacking the right rear of the fence. There's one truck there just pretty much hung up against the wall there. I think that might just be 17 truck of Chandler Parsons, who's get a good look now from our right side. But you're starting to see these drivers move around the racetrack to try and find grip in different places, which is something we also saw in the Coke Series on Tuesday night. They all stayed in one lane to begin with, but as the track wore out, because this is dirt, it's a softer, more malleable surface, so it doesn't necessarily hold its shape as well. And as the race progresses, you can find speed down lower in the middle.
You certainly can, as we're going to focus in here on Peter Kubowski. Oh, man, contact there with the 14 on his outside. And, golly, how many times have we seemingly talked about Romney being right in the thick of things? But he's done a nice job moving up through the field, starting in P10, has moved up to 7th. So he's done a nice job working his way through. 3 wide here, and Tyler O'Neill, a little bit of contact. Davis is going to get the worst end of that as he hits the inside wall for pit road. He's going to keep it going straight, so no caution flag there, but O'Neill aggressive there on the top side, able to make it work, but going to be a few casualties in that one.
And Davey Davis all the way back to 17th as a result of that incident. So it's upright for him. He'll have work to do in these final 15 laps to try and get back up towards the front. Meanwhile, we go up back to, I believe this is Garrett White running in the 4th position, as Mason Sweet has managed to get around him and take over that 3rd position. And White, in great contrast to a lot of battling mid-pack, is all by himself.
He's all by himself. We're going to get one more look at what happened here off at turn number 2. You can see O'Neill, the full wall ride there on the top side, is able to get just above the 18, who slides back down into Davis. A nice job saving that truck. Davey Davis does to avoid the traffic, but yeah, a nice job there from Davis to collect it up, but he falls all the way back to the 17th position.
It's almost like he was just trying to slide in behind that truck. It was almost clear, but not quite. And that contact bouncing him down to the inside wall sends him back.
Oh, trouble 3 and 4. 22 is around of Philip Dorsum and Chandler Parsons. Caution flag number 3 going to come late in the going here. And this was some of the more vicious contact I think we've seen tonight, James. A driver crossing back down to the bottom in the 22 who was completely unaware, trying to throw a slider on a truck that he was battling, and it whips Chandler Parsons, and both of them ran around.
Gonna look at the replay momentarily and show you all what happened. But yeah, just a tough situation where drivers were crossing apexes and ended up crossing over each other's lines. We'll now show you what happened. Here's Chandler Parsons' machine. You can see him diving off into the corner, trying to get to the inside of Corey Boudinot, and then all of a sudden from the left, bam, huge contact there from Philip Dorsham, who just slid on in there. He was trying to go up the racetrack. Chandler was trying to go down. They crossed over each other and hit pretty much in the worst part of the racetrack. But more importantly, I think within the context of this iRacing NASCAR Class C fixed event, that was the longest green flag run we are going to have, because now we are within the final 10 laps of this race. So this is going to be a sprint to the finish in some form. We just don't quite know what form just yet.
And of course, one thing to note is that in these C-fixed races, you do get one attempt at overtime if we should so need it. And of course, that's any official NASCAR series that has cautions in it from the C license up, is you do get one attempt at overtime. In these fixed races, open side, I believe that you get 3 green-white checkers, but here in the fixed side, it is just one attempt if we need it. And I think cautions breed cautions, James. It gets to the end of these races. You got I rating, you got safety rating, you have pride on the line. And, of course, we're going to stack them up too wide. And I think from what we've seen, if you're on that top side of the racetrack, that has been the place to be. So you're kind of at a benefit here if you're in that second, fourth, sixth. If you have an even number, you're probably looking pretty good on this restart.
You are licking your chops in anticipation, because you're right. You're already going to be there in that preferred groove. You'll be able to roll momentum as long as you hit your entry to 1 and 2 right. If you can carry some speed onto the back straightaway, you can potentially pass some of the drivers underneath you, unless you're Garrett White, who has been the one driver that consistently has been able to at least keep pace with drivers to his outside when he runs that inside lane on the restart. We've seen him try to go to the inside of Graham Bolin on a few occasions when the green flag is dropped. He'll be a little bit further back now. He didn't quite have the long run pace that go around, so he'll restart from, I believe, the 4th position. But could see somebody try and dip to the inside to make this interesting, because Bolin's had control of this pretty much since we took the green flag to start this thing off some 30 minutes ago.
Graham Bolin was a number of seconds up, and that was the point I was making during that last caution flag, is oftentimes we don't appreciate when these elite level drivers are out here on the service, and you see one of them with a black stripe in your race. It's usually, oh man, how much are we going to be battling for second here? I mean, there's a reason that these drivers are so competitive, and of course, James, a little bit of Coke happening here in just a couple of weeks, as we, of course, ran on Tuesday night. So we'll wait a little bit next week for the break. And, of course, we'll return to the Dover Motor Speedway on April 26th.
Headed to the Monster Mile, April 26th, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can watch that broadcast on enascar.com/live. As the lights are off on the pace truck, we will get the restart with 5 laps to go in this iRacing NASCAR Class C Fixed Series event from the dirt version of Bristol Motor Speedway. Thunder Valley comes alive on the restart. Graham Bolin with a good jump ahead of everybody, and immediately he goes to the top to cover Michael Frisch and company as they head off into 1.
And Frisch kind of gets stuck into the wall. He's going to lose the 2nd position. It's going to make it 3 wide behind them for 3rd. So Frisch going to lose that spot. However, he'll try the slider to get it back, and he's going to do so successfully. So Graham Bolin off into the distance, but we've got a great battle for 2nd and 3rd shaping up behind.
That was a great read from Mason Sweet. He saw it coming and was able to cross right down to the inside as they're going to go sideways behind them. This is for about, I think, 5th or 6th. And you can see they're 4 wide back there on the back straightaway at Bristol. When have you ever seen this, Blake McCandless?
Oh, man, they race hard here at C-Fix. That's for the 4th position. Tyler O'Neill looking to go 5 as they'll come around to 3 laps to go. Again, a caution here would mean 1 attempt at that green-white checkered, but 3, 4 wide. My goodness, they are all on top of each other.
I think if you're Mason Sweet, you don't mind being out in front of all of this, because you're not part of the madness that is in the dead center of this field. Contact there. I believe that was the 14 and the 16. Logan Romney and Tyler O'Neill getting together. Austin Johnson looking to the inside, and a big sin there from Julian Valdez. On the bottom, as the 14 goes around, Romney will spin in turn 2. The yellow flag will come out, and just like you said, Blake McCandless, enter our 1 attempt at a green-white checker finish.
And I think this is one of those cases, James, late in this race when those stack-ups happen on the top side, you're just not going to lift for it at this point. You're racing for all the marbles at this point, and there was a little bit of a stack-up there that I think originated all the way with Garrett White, worked its way back to Logan Romney. You hate to see it for Romney, who is a B-class driver. He's not even an A-class dirt driver, so out here with that B license, you're going to see right there the 14 stack up, and right into the back of him is Tyler O'Neill rolling along the top side, not able to get checked up for that stack up, and you can see the ensuing result. Big damage there on the number 13 of Mosteller right there, who loses a motor. You can see the smoke billowing out from his 13 machine.
But that's, as you said, just a case of drivers trying to get every last position that they can, because we are so close to the end of this race. There are risks that you're going to take now that you might not necessarily be inclined to stick a wheel out on earlier on in this race.
Well, it looks like somebody's not very happy here with Tyler O'Neill and James Pike. This is a certified NIM cross moment. This is a no-no when it comes to iRacing, and a little bit of retaliation. We know Bristol can bring out those tempers, and he tried to spin him. Wasn't successful the first, the second, or the third time that he tried it, but my goodness, that may warrant an old visit from NIM Cross right there.
Yeah, these are things that you don't necessarily want to be doing. There was Tyler, I think, just trying to shuck him out of the way, and then all of a sudden, here comes the 14, contact there, and yes, as Blake said, a friendly reminder, this is not what you want to be doing, especially when you have the lights on you and the cameras on you, because this is a protestable offense. So if you send a protest in, maybe a little break that Mr. Romney might be taking after this race, perhaps.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we joke about it right here, but of course, that is a no-no on the iRacing service. And I got to say, Romney, I hate it for him that he had such a good race. But I mean, come on, if you're going to wreck a guy, you can't try 4 times to get the guy. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, it's that. Plus, admittedly, I think Chase Elliott showed us there's a way to do it a few years ago. I think of Denny Hamlin at Phoenix, where you can't be that obvious when you do it, as we'll get set for the restart and get lined up here for our 1 green-white checker coming here in just a few laps. I would think lights are going to go off on the pace car. Maybe this time around, next time around, perhaps.
I think the lights are going to be shut off this time for that one attempt at a green-white checkered. And again, if that is one way, if you have an iRacing account, you're on the service, that is a quick way to relinquish your ability to get onto the racetrack for, depending on if you're a repeat offender, what could be 1 week, what could be months, what could be an indefinite suspension. So again, we don't want to encourage that, obviously, and it's something that they take very seriously here. They're not going to allow that, and of course it's relying on all the drivers to police it and make sure that protest system works.
Lights are off on the pace truck. Final restart of the night coming. Can Graham Boland finish off what he has been so dominant in controlling throughout this race? One more restart for him and the rest of this field. Another good jump from Boland. He's clear by a truck rank. He's going to try and slide up top, but Michael Frisch was able to keep it there alongside, at least for the moment, as the next flag. Blake McCandless will end the race.
And if we could get back to the white, we'll see it through no matter what happens on the last lap. But Boland able to take a charge into 3 and 4. Frisch trying to dig there on the top side, but unable to make up the ground. Boland will take the white flag this time.
One more lap for Graham Boland. One more lap for all these battles in the center of the field as they continue to bounce off of each other, trying to gain spots.
One more trip around is Michael Frisch going to try to send it in here to 3 and 4, but it looks like coming up just short. It looks like Boland will have it.
Oh, Boland was sideways on corner exit, trying to make sure he hung on, but hang on he does, and Graham Boland will go to victory lane at the dirt version of Bristol Motor Speedway in this iRacing NASCAR Class C Fixed Series event. Just speeding out Michael Frisch at the line coming out of turn 4.
And again, I think this is something that you often see when these drivers from these elite rinks, they come down here. They they showcase exactly why and why they are where they are. They are the best of the best, and Graham Bolin, unchallenged, led every lap, and just an old-fashioned butt whooping there. Did it the old-fashioned way.
Victor by just about 2/10 over Michael Frisch. Mason Sweet brought it home in the third spot. Garrett White was top 5 all night. He finishes 4th. Tyler O'Neill with a big run from 20th to 5th when it was all done. Peter Kubowski comes home in the 6th spot. 7th went to Benjamin Walker. Julian Valdez finished in the 8th spot. 9th went to Michael Cozy Jr. And P10 to Austin Johnson.
11th was Davey Davis. 12th goes to Corey Bowdenot. 13th to James Floyd. 14th, Chandler Parsons. Last truck on the lead lap, Gary Sexton, Kirchenbauer, Mosteller, Logan Romney, who, again, I imagine this will be his last race for a little while here these next couple of weeks. 19th to Dorsum. 20th, O'Leary, Gibson, Zolsky, and Kuhn. And, well, James, we had it all here, but I think at the end of the day, Graham Bolin and these guys showing exactly why they are the best of the best. And of course, if you like what you saw, guess what? There's a next race in 21 minutes that you can sign up for.
About to say, go get yourself a drink of water and regroup and go ahead and hop in one of the practice sessions that are open now so you can get a few laps around the dirt version of Bristol Motor Speedway before you jump in to that next race at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Plenty of fun had, whether or not it was our race here at Bristol or our friends from the road racing side running at Long Beach. Lots of fun that we saw during this iRacing happy hour. Blake McCandless, and at the end of the day, really good battling across the board. And one winner here for us, Graham Bolin, was fantastic all the way through. A big thanks to the entire team at iRacing for helping make today's event possible, both at Long Beach and at Bristol. And a big thanks to my partner in the booth, Blake McCandless. I am James Pike. Thank you so much for tuning in to our broadcast. We look forward to seeing you out on the track next time. Good night from the dirt version of Bristol Motor Speedway.